We are back on the Rational Boomer podcast. Hopefully, your day is going well. By the time you hear this on the podcast, it is Monday, but I'm recording this Sunday night on a Substack Live. Love doing the Substack Live. We always get a lot of people participating. And just to help me out today, we're also bringing in TJ the Plumber, who you've seen here on Substack, on the TikTok Lives and such. So we should have an interesting conversation. We're going to go about an hour or so, but there's some interesting things to talk about. We're starting out another week. Things about to get crazy again, like they do every other week. And we're maybe a day or two away from a vote on the release of the Epstein files. Um, Mike Mike Johnson decided to put it up and let the chips fall where they may. And we're hearing that maybe as many as 100 Republicans will vote to release the files, which is interesting. And TJ and I were talking about it before we went on, and we think we kind of understand kind of what's going on here. TJ, why don't you tell me what you were tell them what you were telling me earlier?
Well, we'll start with Donald Trump. Donald Trump's trying to play it off and say, "Oh, just let him do it. It doesn't matter. There's nothing in there that's going to get me." Blah 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 blah. Which we know is absolute bullshit, right? He's just trying to deflect it. But ultimately, here's what I think is happening. The rumors have probably gone around the house enough now that they know everyone in the house knows what's in the files, at least to some degree, regarding Donald Trump, right?
Yes.
So so now they're in a very impossible situation as far as the Republicans go, because we know the Democrats are 100% voting to release it, right? But the Republicans are in a very difficult position because if they vote to conceal it, then they're aiding and abetting this thing. And if they vote to release it, they're going against Donald Trump. Well, I think that after they finally have heard, you know, through whispers what's in the files, it's
Yeah.
finally fractured the MAGA Republicans in the House. I think they're finally realizing that this is their last chance to escape Donald Trump and blame it on something else. This is it. Like, this is their only opportunity. They can say, "Oh, Donald Trump was in the files. I don't want anything to do with him." And they can walk away from him almost, I would say, in a way, scot free, but not really, because they've been complicit with all this bullshit all along. But this is their one opportunity. And I think they're talking and they're saying, we either bail on him now before this all comes out or we're toast.
Yeah, I think you're right. We've wondered why they haven't bailed before now. I think it's too late. I think the stink of Donald Trump is going to stick with them up
Yeah.
until the 2026 election, at least, and beyond that. But you brought something to my attention, and what you were alluding to earlier was kind of interesting. And at first, I was confused and I was suspicious, but now I kind of get it. AP, now it came out on AP, so you know it's legit. AP is one of the few places you can count on. Well, I'll just read the first few paragraphs here. President Donald Trump said House Republicans should vote to release the files involving the Jeffrey Epstein case. A startling reversal after previously fighting the proposal. We have nothing to hide, and it's time to move on from this Democratic hoax perpetrated by the radical left lunatics in order to deflect from the great success of the Republican Party. Now, this seems weird that Donald Trump would say, "Oh, no, go ahead, vote to release the files in the House." He didn't say the House and the Senate, he said the House.
Right.
And people are wondering why would he do that? I mean, we've already seen these emails. We know what kind of shit's in the files, and it's probably worse. Why would he do that? Now, I was thinking about that. I go, that doesn't make any sense. Is it just some stupid remark to save face or whatever? And it kind of is in my mind. He's been hearing, as well as we've been hearing, that maybe as many as 100 Republicans will vote to release the files. And as I said in the TikTok earlier, um, the ultimate release of the files is damaging and of concern to Donald Trump, but it's not imminent. It's still out there a ways. It's got to go through the Senate. It's got to be signed by him. It's got a lot of processes to go through. So he's not worried about the release at this moment. But what he is worried about in my estimation, is that he's always had the Republicans backing him, every one of them backing him.
Yep.
So if he goes into this vote and now 100 Republicans go against him, that's going to make him look very weak, not only to him, not only to the Democrats, but all the Republicans that have been waiting, as you say, for a reason to get out from under him. So, in order to save some face regarding these 100 or so that he knows are going to vote against him, he's basically saying, yeah, that's okay. I think that's a good idea. So he doesn't look weak or stupid. It's not going to work, but I
No.
think that's the way his mind is working currently.
Yeah, of course. He he's all reactionary all the time. So his automatic go-to thing is, "Oh yeah, go ahead, do it. It doesn't matter." Trying to downplay it like anyone's going to believe it if they release all the shit. Like, of course he's going to be crucified with all the evidence, but he's just trying to play it off like maybe he thinks it won't pass in the Senate. So that's why he's saying go ahead and vote for it. But I have a feeling if 100 Republicans vote for it in the House, I got a pretty good fucking feeling that it's going to pass the Senate too.
Yeah, that's going to be put some pressure on them. But you have to understand how Donald Trump thinks. That's why he's in the problems he is now. He only thinks in the moment. He thinks, how can I fix it right now? He doesn't think down the road because he thinks he's a brain and that I'll fix it now. Then when we get there, I'll fix it then, and then I'll keep fixing it. He doesn't think ahead. James in the comments made an interesting statement, and he's absolutely right. James says he can release the files without any vote, and he's absolutely right. So, Donnie, just go ahead and release the files. Fuck the House, fuck the Senate, fuck the veto. Just tell them you want them released, and they'll release them. That's an
Well,
excellent point.
it is an excellent point, but we know why that's not happening, obviously, because Pam Bondi and Kash Patel told Donald Trump what's in the files and what's in there about him. And that's why it's not getting released.
Now, I've said this too in other TikToks. I said people would come to me and say, well, if it doesn't pass the House, or if it does pass the Senate, or Donald Trump vetoes the release of the files, I said it doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because we've got a lot of stuff in these emails that have been released. I mean, enough damning stuff about Donald Trump. It's pretty clear that he was involved. All the things he said have been proven to be lies. I suspect there's going to be more things coming out of the Epstein estate and the Oversight Committee as well. Maybe videos, maybe pictures. If they never release the files till after Donald Trump is gone, I don't think it matters much because he's on his way out anyway. He's already lost a lot. We don't need the files to take down Donald Trump. What we need the files for down the road is to expose all the other motherfuckers, all the rich and powerful people that were involved, because they've gotten a pass up to this point.
Well, Ed said he's supposed to be gone in 2 weeks. We'll see if his prediction is right.
Oh shit, that's right. Um, I couldn't do it a week ago. He couldn't do it this week or one or the other. Yeah, he's on the road this week. That's why we didn't do it on Thursday. So we do it this coming Thursday. So hopefully he'll be available because the Thursday after that is Thanksgiving. I'm pretty sure he won't be available at that point.
Yeah,
But we'll be a week out from what he predicts is Donald Trump's death.
I think it's a little premature, to be honest with you. But, you know,
Well, I don't know. Have you seen him being interviewed by the press? And whenever they bring
Mhm.
up Epstein, he gets fired up, man. He lunged at somebody and said, quiet, quiet. He just doesn't want people talking about the Epstein thing, and he doesn't understand why they don't stop when he tells them to. He's
which is
learning a lesson here quickly that he doesn't have the power he once had.
which is fitting as to why we need to drill him to death with it. Drill him and shame on the media for not doing that. Drill him to death with questions about Epstein. That's what they should be doing, but they're fucking pussies.
Yeah. Leslie says, who knows how much has been scrubbed from the files under his administration.
Mm-mm.
Um, I
Nope.
don't know that I don't know that she can do it because those aren't the only copies. Clearly, the Epstein estate has probably a copy of all the files too. I'm guessing, or at least enough of the files to expose Donald Trump and the people involved. I still don't think we're going to see the files till after Donald Trump's gone, one way or another. And I'm not worried about it. There's two advantages to it. You've got the stuff coming out from the Epstein estate, and the more it doesn't come out, and the more the Republicans don't want it to come out, it'll be more effective in the upcoming 2026 election. I don't want them to come out, freak out, and do whatever they're going to do and forget about it. I want that forefront in their mind in the 2026 election.
Right. And they can't scrub the court case either because that's a matter of public
No,
record. It's public record. They can't do it. Like all the evidence, they can't make it disappear. You know, that's held that information's held separately from the files themselves that the FBI has, et cetera. So they can't there's no escape from this. There's no erasing it. And that's why Donald Trump is flailing so fucking bad because he knows he's fucking sunk. He knows he's fucking history once this thing is released, and he's gonna fight it all the way to the bloody end to try to stop it from happening.
well, yeah, that's what narcissists do. Eric says they could use the files as a reason to impeach him, and if
What?
Republicans start, he'll be gone. Well, they could use that as a reason to impeach him, but I'll be honest with you, Eric, with bombing boats in the ocean and going against the Constitution with terror, there's already plenty to impeach him if the Republicans have a stomach for it. But the Epstein files, uh, that that wouldn't hurt. I mean, I think the important thing with what we know now is almost enough. Donald Trump told us he barely knew Jeffrey Epstein. These emails clearly showed that's a lie. He told us he knew nothing about what Jeffrey Epstein was doing with the girls. That was a lie, and that was proven in the emails. Um, and now Donald Trump is doing all he can to hide it. If that isn't at least some evidence of what Donald Trump is doing and his complicity with this situation, there's plenty to impeach Donald Trump with at this point. And there's likely to be more coming. I suspect if they do something to piss off more Democrats, you're going to see more squeezed out every week.
Yeah,
Evidence that is.
yeah, no doubt about that. And just I'm loving it right now. Like the last 5 days have been they really have been incredible. I mean, with the whole thing with the emails, and I've really been living it up the last few days, loving it. Donald Trump being destroyed on social media. You know, I can't get enough of the memes, and you know, I'm just loving it. It's been a great few days, to be honest. I think why I'm loving it is because I see the end is near. You know,
Yeah.
it really is. I mean, how much further can this go? He's either gonna choke on a Big Mac or get sunk by the Epstein files. There's no other path. There's no other way out of it.
Well, or he could choke on a penis too. So you never know.
Yeah, you did say that today when you were talking to Aaron, and I cracked
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. What's interesting, somebody brought something up in the comments with me, and I never thought about this, but it's worth noting. Uh, when the emails came out, we got some new revelations about this whole Trump Epstein thing. I mean, for the longest time, I think we thought it was old white guys touching girls or having sex with girls. And that's horrific enough as it is. But we're finding out there's kind of more to this. It's a bigger issue that's going on, especially with the Trump and Bubba revelation. Um, it almost sounds Diddy-ish,
Yeah.
that kind of scene as opposed to, just old creeps creeping on girls. But if you remember, um, what was his name? Madison Caulfield or something like that?
Madison Cawthorn, isn't that it?
Madison Cawthorn, yeah, that's right. Madison Cawthorn. He was a young representative. He was a big time Trump humper.
Right.
Um, and he got himself in trouble because he couldn't shut his mouth and they ran him out of Congress.
Right. He said there
But
was
they were,
coke-fueled orgies with the Republicans. Isn't that what he
yeah, he
called
said,
them?
yeah, coke fueled orgies and a lot of sexual shit going on. Now, when he said that, people said, here's just a punk ass kid scorned. But, maybe there's more going on in Congress or in DC in general that is pretty freaky and we have no idea. which would kind of support what happened uh, with Jeffrey Epstein and all of what's going on. I'm afraid when they pull the cover off this, we're going to see a lot of freaky motherfuckers getting exposed.
Well, that's great. I love it. And I'm willing to bet that it's really going to be lopsided right versus left. I can tell you that right now.
Yeah, I have a feeling too, but I think there'll be some left out there too.
Well,
Vincent said,
absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
mean, it's inevitable, and I'm fine with it. I don't care. I'll sacrifice any Democrat just to get
I
Donald
mean,
Trump.
and you know what?
Uh,
I don't give a fuck. Whoever's involved in that shit, throw them all in prison. I don't give a fuck if it's Bill Clinton. Just throw them all in prison. Whoever fucking, harmed those people, they all deserve to go to prison no matter what.
yeah, I don't love any politician enough to try to protect them. You know, if they're bad people, they're bad people. Fuck them. Um,
Oh,
Vincent said MTG getting death threats from MAGA ignores her calls for violence on Democrats and other people. Thoughts and prayers. Um, I will say this about Marjorie Taylor Greene. I don't like her. I think she's stupid. I think she's toxic.
yep.
But here's the thing I find most troubling. MTG is out there fighting against Donald Trump. She's getting death threats. Now remember, I don't like her. If we were going to look at all the Democrats and even some of the reasonably minded Republicans that were going to turn on Donald Trump and fight back, put up a fight, MTG would have been probably the last one we'd consider doing it. But I'm watching MTG doing the things a Democrat should do, and still no Democrats. There are Democrats, calling them out and pushing back, but she's really putting it on the line there. And it's not about respect with her. I honestly, I'll let her do whatever she wants to do and sacrifice long as it benefits us. I don't have any more respect for her, wouldn't vote for her. She's crazy. But I wish we could see some Democrats have that kind of courage or stupidity, whatever it is.
I mean, here's a question for you, Mike. Do you think that her response to all this is genuine because she gives a shit about the people in her district and, you know, Medicaid and SNAP and all these things? Or do you think that it's posturing for something down the road?
Well, it may be posturing for something down the road. It may just be survival. Do I believe she really cares? No. I think we've proven that MTG is an opportunist. She will say whatever it takes to get support and get elected. I mean, she's saying this about Donald Trump, but her credibility is a little suspect, given she also told us that the fires in California were being started with Jewish space lasers. So you take that for what it's worth.
Right. It just stands to reason that maybe she's breaking away now because she has three brain cells instead of one. And she's
Could be.
looking towards the future at a future goal of running for president or vice president or whatever it is. I just it just seems odd because I honestly don't believe she gives a fuck about it, any of her constituents or any of the American people.
No, I don't honestly either. Spacer says MTG is not on our side. Independent other people need to remember how racist she is. Last week, she introduced a bill limiting pathways for citizenship, if not blocking it entirely. It wasn't for if it wasn't for these files or any other day, uh, she would continue to be a Trumper. She still supports what ICE is doing and other wacky stuff. And Spacer makes a good point here. A lot of Democrats fell into this trap when Liz Cheney was running. He
Right.
hates Donald Trump, so she's on our side. No, she's never been on our side. MTG isn't on the side of the Democrats. We don't have to welcome her in and protect her. Let's just use her for all she's worth, and then when it's over, send her where she needs to go. The fuck away from Washington D.C.
Yeah, well, it must be calm in hell right now because the devil finally got returned back there after all these years. Dick Cheney finally got sent back to where he belongs.
Yeah, yeah. Incandescent Light says now we have to find a way to get JD. Um, Now we have to find a way to get a JD out too. Both of them, his association with Peter Thielens and Curtis Yarvin is terrifying. Yeah, it is. but remember, I mean, we can't take the whole thing and fix it all at once. First, we got to cut the head off the snake. Then JD Vance comes in and he's far weaker. He doesn't have control over the cult like Donald Trump
No.
does. It's not going to be optimal to have him as president. It's going to be better than Donald Trump because he won't be able to affect as much. By the time he gets in, we may have control of the House and the Senate. So he'll be completely impotent. I mean, even more so than he probably is. But I'm not as worried about JD Vance. I won't worry about JD Vance until I have to worry about JD Vance.
Right. And I love it that he's getting burned over that Erica Kirk thing. That's like, I've been loving that too, seeing that over the last week or so. Everyone's just blasting on him and blasting on him. And he'll never control the MAGAs. Never. They don't respect him. The
No,
MAGAs hate JD Vance.
they do. They think they think he's a weenie, and they just don't like him. I'm not as worried about JD Vance. I mean, I'm not going to say he's going to be a good president. He's going to change everything around, and he won't be a problem for us. I just don't think he's going to be as big a problem as Donald Trump. I mean, Donald Trump right now may be the biggest problem we've ever seen because he's cornered. He doesn't know what to do, so he's just doing anything and everything.
Well,
Somebody pointed out he's sending people down to Venezuela and doing all this stuff. He's trying anything just to get back in favor with his people.
I think this is all about timing. And let's just say that right, before the midterms, Trump is taken down or he's either, something happens or even after the midterms, right? After the midterms happen and all the committees change in the House, uh, there's going to be a lot of investigations and there's going to be indictments.
Absolutely.
And
Yeah.
those indictments are going to include Pam Bondi, Kash Patel, Pete Hegseth. There's going to be a lot of people and all the underlings under those departments.
Well,
I would say, go ahead.
at the very least, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel and Bongino,
Yeah,
they're all part and parcel to a massive cover up, and that's being exposed now.
absolutely.
If they don't prosecute him for anything else, it will be a cover up, and we know how the courts in DC hate cover ups. So Pam Bondi better be finding a good lawyer and not the one she's been using so far because they are fucking worthless.
Right. So, but my point of bringing this up is that when this happens, and say JD Vance becomes president, and he's seeing all these people getting indicted, he's going to think twice about trying to pull any of the nonsense that Donald Trump's been pulling for the past 10 months. He's not going to
Yeah.
do that. He's going to stay in his lane and he's going to be scared is what he's going to be. Honestly.
Well, he should be a little gun shy after he sees what happens to Donald Trump, who was thought to be pretty powerful and untouchable. When he becomes touchable, they will get nervous. Sloan says, I think Trump is under extreme pressure because he has and is being blackmailed. I think there's no question about that. Based on what we've seen, the Russians, maybe the Israelis, um, oligarchs. Donald Trump is so dumb. He's probably being blackmailed by a number of people. That's why he's bouncing around and doing the crazy shit he is. Let's see, if Maxwell gets a commuted sentence, she better watch her back. She knows stuff about powerful men who don't want her talking. The whole Ghislaine Maxwell thing and her getting a pardon or a commutation, I don't know what good that does because she maybe threatens Donald Trump to get the commutation, but a lot of this stuff is coming out anyway, so maybe it doesn't matter. She's proven she lies to Todd Blanche, so she can't be trusted in anything she says. And if she gets out, what's stopping her from going someplace where they can't get a hold of her and then
Right.
sending a note to Donnie and say, "Look, now I need money, and if you don't give me money, now I'm going to do this." The only way to save yourself from somebody like Ghislaine Maxwell is to Epstein them, unfortunately. So I think she's at risk.
Well, I think that if they release the files, that weakens her position too. You know, she holds a lot of cards with the files being kept secret, but once they release them, she still will hold some cards about some details of things that she knows. But I think that those cards constrict because the files are out there.
Yeah. James says Trump originally said he threw Epstein out of Mar-a-Lago because he stole his employees. Other day, Carolyn Levitt said he threw him out because he was a pedo. Um,
No,
but the thing about it is, the problem is that he said he did all this regardless of what reason he did it in the early 2000s, 2005 to 2007.
not
We
true.
know for a fact that in the emails it said he had Thanksgiving dinner with uh, with Epstein in 2017 after he'd been convicted and after Donald Trump was president. So once again, just another lie proved to be a lie. Um, there's going to be a lot of confusion as to why he says he booted him out. But remember, in the emails, they do reference that, and it wasn't in the early stages, but he was mad at Epstein. He says, "I'm going to kick you out," and Epstein says, "I've never been a member. I never paid you for this fucking thing. You can't kick me out if I'm not a member,"
Right,
which which is true.
right. Well, Donald Trump's not smart enough to know that, so
Donald Trump just says whatever comes to his mind. He thinks he can talk his way out of anything. There is no thought process behind Donald Trump when he says something. That's why he always gets in trouble. Um, but uh, but as more and more information comes out, he's going to get more frazzled, more panicky, and things are going to get crazier. I will tell you this: Donald Trump is on the way out. He's spiraling. He's going to crash any time now. But before that happens, things are likely to get pretty ugly. And as they get uglier, don't be surprised if the Republicans ultimately do pull um, uh, a Richard Nixon situation where they go to him and say, "Jesus Christ, you got to go. Otherwise, we're going to impeach you and kick you out."
he'll
And it's
he'll
not,
never accept that. He'll never accept that.
I don't know. The only reason I say that is because if he thinks he's got problems and he thinks he can get away from it, narcissists, as a last resort, always do run away because they're cowards. If he feels and he believes there's really no other options out and they're going to kick him out, the Republicans are going to kick him out, he may resign. I mean, it's much like we're talking about earlier, where he's now saying, "Yeah, all you people in the House, you should vote to release the files because we got nothing to hide." The real reason he's doing that is because they're going to do it anyways, and he doesn't want to look weak. So he doesn't like being accountable. He doesn't like to look weak. He could be forced out if the Republicans had the ability to do it. I don't know that they do, but he could be made to leave.
Yeah, I can see that. I was telling Eric earlier, I was having a little sidebar conversation with him, but I like the pressure that's being put on right now on the Trump with the Epstein files and the Bill Clinton thing, and like they need to keep drilling and drilling on that. I said because I told Eric the more stress you can cause Donald Trump, the better.
Absolutely. I mean, that's why this whole thing with Trump and Bubba, people say, "Well, I'm not sure that's real." I don't care. I like it bouncing around the narrative. People asking down, "Who's Bubba? What did you do? What's your technique?" Um, let's see here. Eric says, "Wasn't the cover up the problem for the Nixon with Watergate?" Yeah, absolutely. The cover up was the big issue.
Right.
There was a huge cover up there. I mean, the crimes that the Republicans committed were fairly minimal. I mean, big at the time. I mean, it was a huge story. They broke into the um, Democratic National offices and stole some things. It was a big deal then, but it was the cover up that got them. It wasn't the actual crime.
Right.
What's happening with Fetterman lately doing all these interviews? I don't know what's going on with Fetterman. I think he's an absolute waste. I think he should be booted out of the Senate because he's not mentally sound, literally. And it's not even that he's siding with the Republicans. It just seems like he's got a lot of Donald Trump in him, in that he can't keep shit straight.
Yeah. Being from Pennsylvania, I'm very disappointed. back when he ran, we were really hopeful that he'd be someone that would actually represent the constituents of our state because he wasn't, a cookie cutter politician. He was kind of outside the box. He didn't wear a suit and tie and he wore a hoodie and shorts and he was like a regular guy. He was the mayor of Braddock. Like he was just a regular Joe, and he just ended up being a disappointment, unfortunately.
Do you think the change in personality had to do with his health conditions? Sometimes somebody has a heart attack or something like that. Their whole personality changes. He has
Well,
some mental issues as well.
he had that stroke, and
Yeah.
when you have a stroke, a- ask anyone that you know has known people or had a stroke, or it changes it could change the way your mind works, you know. And so
Yeah.
I really believe that those health conditions led to his change of his ways. He didn't, he would have never stood for that before, but now all of a sudden he's changed his ways and it doesn't make any sense.
No, it really doesn't. O'Deener says 60 Minutes aired something that has Trumpers all riled up. Um, yeah, I think we're seeing that now. I mean, we had the situation where Donald Trump called out uh, Massey's wife. Somebody made the claim that his first wife, who passed away, that maybe Massey killed her. I mean, it's just all ridiculous. And apparently, the Republicans latched onto this, and they're not happy about it. They look at it as a bridge too far. So um, that, and there's many reasons why Republicans are mad at Donald Trump. They've lost their jobs. He keeps telling us the prices are down, but they have to suffer with high prices. There was nothing Donald Trump is doing now that's making his people happy. Maybe the base that are in the cult, they are happy because they will never find anything wrong with Donald Trump. But anybody with a reasonable mind and average level intelligence can't be happy with what's going on. It's just a matter if they're willing to walk away from Donald Trump.
Well, Jesus Christ, anyone who's been to the grocery store should fucking know better. I mean, come on now. I know groceries is a old fashioned word, but Jesus Christ, you, I mean, ground beef's like $12 a pound. What the fuck? I mean, if you can't figure it out with your wallet, I don't know what to tell you. You're a fucking idiot.
Yeah, I bought a chuck roast today to make, and it was about a little over 3 pounds, and it was $35. That's high. That's
Yeah,
high for chuck
fuck yeah, that's crazy.
roast. Well, yeah, and everything's going up. I went and bought crackers recently, and if I bought the name brand crackers, the box, like $6, $6 for fucking crackers, for
Right?
fuck's sake. So I bought the cheap generic ones, and they were a little cheaper. So it's a fucking cracker. How different can a cracker taste?
Yeah,
Um,
go buy a pound of coffee. It's like $40. It's fucking nuts.
yeah,
It's
I'm glad
crazy.
I I'm glad I don't drink coffee
And
because
you know what? Donald Trump's fucking backpedaling now on all the fucking tariffs because someone finally fucking told him, "Look, this isn't working. You're gonna look like an idiot if you keep doing this." So he backed off the tariffs on coffee and what fruit? Isn't that the other thing?
yeah. Well,
One of
no,
the things.
he came out. Well, first of all, he came out and said the tariffs are going to make us rich, going to bring the prices down. Then, of course, it didn't
Yeah,
do that, and now he's lying to us about it. And then he comes back and he essentially admits that the tariffs don't work because I don't know how much he came down on it, probably not much, but on beef, coffee, and fruit. He brought down the tariffs a little bit. So now, if the tariffs are supposed to be good, why then did he go in and cut the tariffs? Here's the problem with that, though. He can cut the tariffs. That's not going to fix anything. Do you think these people are going to drop the prices after the tariffs are off?
hell
No,
no.
they've got us to this level. They
Right.
don't know what Donald Trump's going to do. So they said, fuck it, we'll just keep it on.
Well, not only that, but they're gonna pull the retailers are gonna pull the same scam that they pulled with COVID. They'll artificially even when inflation starts to come down, they'll just keep the prices, a little higher than what the reduction is.
Yeah,
because
yeah,
they're already at that level. If they're charging $6.99 a pound for beef or whatever, they're gonna or I'm sorry, $12.99 a pound for beef. And the tariffs go down on the import of beef. They're gonna keep those market values still artificially high to make maximum profits.
absolutely. Um, Spacer says somebody I heard today reminisced about the Chinese spy balloon issue that happened. Hold on a second. Here. It happened during the Biden's term. They revealed this was happening a lot during Trump's first term. So who knew how much security issues must be going on now? There's got to be a ton of security issues. I mean, so much so that England, the UK has said, yeah, we're not going to give them any information because we're afraid they're going to release it or they might be part and parcel to something that might be a security issue. So when other countries say we're not giving America information, that's a bad sign. That puts us at more risk.
Yeah, and not to mention that we're at a huge cybersecurity risk right now because in order to fund all the fun stuff they're doing at DHS with ICE and that, they
Yeah.
they cut cybersecurity by like 60%. So now all the people that were working to protect all of our infrastructure, our networks and our, secrets and all these things, all that shit's cut. So now the hackers are having a field day with our computers here because they're basically unprotected.
Yeah. Pretty much. Pretty much. O'Deener says there's no tariff money or energy fund left. He's going to bankrupt us like he did the casinos. He's just about everything else. He is a reality show businessman. And, I've said that too before. I don't know. I think when you go into the government after he's gone and all the Republicans are gone, I think they are going to see a catastrophic financial situation. He's moving money around without any kind of regard to what works and what doesn't work. He's spending money on ridiculous things. I'm afraid what they're going to find when somebody reasonable gets in there and takes a look at the finances of this government. I can just imagine there's going to be a lot of money gone and what is there is just going to be a fucking mess.
Well, undoubtedly they broke the law. And again, it's going to go back to the people who allowed it to happen, whether it's the secretaries in his cabinet or whoever, to spend money that's not in their budget. That's a crime. Like they
Yeah,
can't move
absolutely.
money from one department to the other without the approval of Congress. That's not a thing. So all this money that's being spent with at DHS, I mean, how are they paying 9 million a day for ICE? Where's that money coming from? They can't
Well,
just
that's a good
people.
point.
Yeah, so all these people that are involved with moving this money around, and Scott Bessent is going to be one of the big people that's indicted because he's willingly releasing money from the treasury that he shouldn't be releasing to departments that aren't supposed to get it because of the budgetary restrictions that they have. So he's another one that's going to end up like Peter Navarro in jail.
Yeah, hopefully that's the case. Vincent says, "Wonder how many data breaches are happening in secret with China and Russia."
Oh,
That's a good point. I mean, when you think about the data breaches, normally that would be reported, but they're hiding job numbers, they're hiding inflation numbers, they're hiding GDP numbers. It's not crazy to think that any bad information that comes out, they hide it and just don't tell us. I'm sure that's the case.
and don't forget that Doge was in the Social Security Administration and the Treasury, so they have all of our Social Security numbers and all of our banking information. So that's just lovely.
Um, Hodiner brought this up. We brought this up earlier, but I'm going to mention it again. I read that Trump now is urging Congress to vote in favor of releasing the Epstein files. He likely saw he couldn't hold it back. Watch for him to heavily redact it. Odiner, I'm going to tell you what I think is really happening there. There's been a lot of talk that 100 Republicans are going to vote to release the Epstein files. Now, the Epstein files have a long road to get released. They got to go to the Senate, and Donald Trump has to sign off of it, unless it's a supermajority, and we don't know if that would be the case. So Donald Trump is not worried about the release of the Epstein files right now. What he's worried about is looking weak.
Yeah.
More importantly than the Epstein files at this point, if it looks like 100 Republicans are voting against him, that would be a red flag that he's weakening. And some of the other Republicans will say, well, since there's 100 of them, I'll jump on board too. He wants to maintain some face. He wants to maintain, at least he's trying to maintain his power. So by going out and saying, yeah, you guys should all vote for it. And when they do, then he could say, see, I told him to do it. It's just stupid, but he's just trying to cover his ass.
It's just embarrassing. I mean, he just I can't believe anyone can take him seriously on the way he like his reaction, his he goes with whatever the first thing that pops into his head is.
Yeah,
Instead of like
absolutely.
like a normal person, and I don't maybe I'm not normal, but an average person would sit down and say, what's the best option for me here? I know I'm going to be in trouble. What should I do? But he doesn't do that. He just, oh, yeah, go ahead, do it. It's the first thing that pops into his head. It's crazy, man.
Well, he's like a little child, in that uh, they're terrified to get in trouble, so they'll say and do anything. I always tell the story about my oldest son. He's probably a year and a half old. We're standing at a cabin of ours, and he's standing there in the diaper with a diaper on. And
Like
I
Donald
see
Trump.
him, yeah, pretty much. I see him, he bends over, his face turns red, and he's grunting. I go, dude, are you pooping? He looks at me and goes, no, no, I'm not pooping. That's exactly what Donald Trump is saying. I'm not pooping, even though we know you're fucking pooping, dipshit.
That sounds like what happens in the White House every day, to be honest with you.
Yeah, pretty much. I've said it before, I'm tomorrow or today when you hear this, I'm going to be watching my 5 month old grandson. When you're 5 months old, you pretty much eat, you poop your pants, and you take a nap, and you speak incoherently. And as I'm looking at my grandson, I go, motherfucker, he could be president because he has all the traits that our current president has.
Yeah.
Um, Spacer says, will we ever get to the point where everyone will run to the bank to pull out their money like in during the Great Depression? If something like that happens again, nobody in this country will trust banks again. I remember Elon and Trump wanted to cut the FDIC, the banking safety net. Um, you could see, well, we are seeing some problems with the banks in terms of liquidity. Will we see runs on banks? I doubt it. I think there's been some protection set up from doing that. They maybe just shut down the bank for a couple days or whatever. Um, I don't think we'll see something like the Great Depression, but if we do run into financial problems, it'll be a variation of what we saw in the Great Depression that fits current times.
Well,
I don't know what that is.
I think the financial implications will be proportional to how long Donald Trump is in power. Because
Yeah,
the longer he pulls this nonsense with the tariffs and all the other misappropriation of funds and all this stuff, that definitely affects the economy. It definitely affects the banking uh industry. And so we're definitely headed to a recession. I don't believe that it's a recession that is a depression level recession, but it's
no,
definitely
probably
going
not.
to cause economic stress to the economy. Um, I don't think it'll cause a run on banks. I don't really believe that. I don't think it's to that level, but it's definitely going to create a hardship for the average American for sure. And the billionaire class isn't going to like it either because they're going to
No,
lose money
absolutely
too.
not.
Yeah.
Vincent says next presidential candidate in Congress needs to rein in presidential power to fire anyone. They need a lot of reining in on presidential power. The idea that he's above the law, in spite of the fact that they say no one's above the law. If the president commits a crime, he should be able to be indicted. I know it's problematic because you've got a sitting president, but we see what happens when you have free reign to do whatever you want. Should we get another Donald Trump type, whether it be Republican or Democrat, it'll be even more catastrophic than what we're looking at now. We can't afford to have that happen again.
You know what? And here's the other thing too. After all the horse shit that Clarence Thomas and Alito and Gorsuch and Kavanaugh, after all the shit that they pulled in the Supreme Court, they obviously ruled wrong, right?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Yeah.
The next Democratic president should go nuclear on these motherfuckers and say, you know what? It's over.
Yeah.
I'm expanding the Supreme Court to 13 justices because there's 13 circuit courts and there needs to be a justice for every circuit court, and pack that Supreme Court. Fuck them. Like, use the same strategy Donald Trump uses, go nuclear on everybody. That's what they need to do. And if they don't do that, I'm going to be very fucking disappointed, because that Supreme Court is completely corrupt because of Clarence Thomas and John Roberts and Alito.
Absolutely. Well, and I've heard people talk about it. Should they stack the court? Should they not
Yes.
stack the court? What
Yes,
should we
they
do?
should.
Here's the thing. I don't think they have a choice.
Right.
And it's not a matter of opinion either. The bottom line is the Supreme Court is one of the three branches of co-equal branches of the government. If we have a branch of the government that isn't co-equal or has more power, we don't really have democracy. That's why we're in the position we are now. We have the president or the executive running everything. We don't have an independent DOJ. We don't have an independent Supreme Court. Um, it's We have to do it in order to save democracy. So when it comes to that, when a Democrat presumably says, "Well, I don't know," bitch, you got to do it. You got to get it done right now in order to save democracy.
Absolutely. And when they do it, they need to put every fucking justice in there that's 30 fucking years old. That's how they should do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Modena says SCOTUS needs enforceable ethics rules. Can't take a gift over $5 without declaring it, or you can get fired. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Uh, the idea that they don't have ethics rules, like every other judge in America does, is fucking ridiculous. It's almost a blatant shot at being corrupt, and they're abusing that freedom they have.
Well, that's interesting. That comment is very interesting. And let's talk about that for a second, because I have a piece on that. So the Supreme Court justices can take all these lavish trips, flights on private planes. They never have to be accountable for any of it, right? Well, some of the people on here know me. Some of the people on here probably don't know me, but I'm a labor leader, right?
Yeah.
So if somebody gives me something of any value over $20, I think it might be 25, anything over $25, I have to report that to the federal government. I have to fill out what's called an LM30. I have to fill it out and submit it to the federal government, because if I don't, they can prosecute me and throw me in prison for not filing an LM30. So anything over, but these guys can take millions of dollars in gifts, but I'm just a lowly union rep from a small town, and I have to file an LM30 if I take something over $25, which I don't do. I don't take a pencil from anybody. But that is absolutely fucking ridiculous. I'm just I'm not a guy out there making millions of dollars and doing like all this stuff. I'm just a regular guy, but I have to, if I go on a golf outing on a Saturday afternoon that's by a vendor, I have to fill out an LM30 or report it to the federal government. That's ridiculous. But they can take millions of dollars. There is no reason. That is the most unethical fucking thing ever. It's absolutely absurd that they don't have an ethical standard about taking gifts or they're taking bribes. Not even a gift. It's a bribe. They're being bribed by lobbyists and corporations and the gas and oil industry and the pharmaceutical companies. It's absolutely horseshit that there's no rules to stop them from doing that. And that's something Congress needs to handle first thing after they change parties here coming up in the midterms.
And up to now, they basically said, "Well, we don't need that. We're above it all. We have guardrails. We have norms that nobody's going to cross." Well, clearly, everybody's walking all over the norms and the guardrails. So that doesn't do it. We need hard and fast rules, hard and fast laws. And if you don't comply with those rules and laws, you need to be booted the fuck out. And
Absolutely.
we'll see if the Democrats have the stomach to do it, because I question the Democrats' courage. They've always sat back. There's a lot of things that need to happen. We need to codify Roe v. Wade. We need to codify a lot of things that we've let hang out there because we didn't think we needed to do it. Spacer says we need to amend something. Some things to the Constitution. For one would be voting rights in the John Lewis Act. That's another one. All these things should be codified. There should not be an option where some rogue party can come in and do away with important, um, long-standing laws like Roe v. Wade. That should not be able to happen. And I know that, the Democrats figured it would never happen, but here we the fuck are. Not only have they changed the law, they're now trying to implement uh, harsher laws, federally speaking, on both THC and abortion. If we let them go, they're just going to run hog wild.
Yeah, absolutely.
Diener says, "Is there a path to impeach SCOTUS?" Yeah, you can impeach Justice. Uh, I think it was only tried once, and I don't know that they were successful with it. It's not an easy process, to be perfectly honest with you. If I'm a Democratic president and Alito and Clarence Thomas are still in office, and I have a feeling after the midterms they may quit, so they can get Republicans appointed. But if we have control of the House and the Senate, it'll never happen.
Well,
Um,
the problem with impeaching a Supreme Court justice is you have to have just cause, right? And what they've been doing, what Thomas and Alito and Gorsuch and Roberts have been doing, mostly Clarence Thomas, but what they've been doing, there's no standard or rules to stop them from doing what they've been doing, taking these
right.
lavish gifts and things. So there's no just cause to impeach them. That's the catch 22 that sucks about it, right? So they need to establish a set of ethical standards for Supreme Court justices first and then deal with it.
If I'm a Democratic president, I take over in 2029, and those two are still in there. My first play would be to go to the Supreme Court and say, look, we can't impeach you because you haven't officially broken rules that don't even exist. But what you have done is illegal, financial crimes or whatever. Here's what you need to do. You need to ride this out, and we can impeach you and expose all the shit that you've done. And maybe look at the possibility of criminal prosecution, because what they did is broke laws. Or you could just retire and go away, and we won't talk to you again. That might be enough of an inducement to get them the fuck out of there so we can appoint some people of real value as opposed to the corrupt motherfuckers they are.
Yeah, but above and beyond that, they need to expand the Supreme Court to 13 justices, regardless of that.
I agree.
That has to happen. I mean, it's absolute nonsense what's going on with the Supreme Court in the past several years. Absolute nonsense.
Vincent says, hope there's a Canadian budget gets passed. I don't want another election. I'm not sure how Canadian elections and the budgets things work up there, but I do hope that it maintains a certain amount of liberal presence there, because we don't need Canada going through the same shit that we're going through. Um,
Leslie in the
see,
comments. Leslie in the comments said my favorite thing. They need to repeal Citizens United. That's my top
yeah,
thing ever. And I've talked about that many times. Is the only way we can fix this country and make it fair and have, you know, people who work for in Congress work for the people again is to repeal Citizens United. And the only way that
yeah.
can be done is with legislation, because the Supreme Court fucking got the ruling wrong. There's absolutely no reason why corporations should be considered people and give unlimited amounts of campaign contributions to candidates. It makes no fucking sense for someone to be given $80 million to run for a seat that only pays $175,000 a year. That's absolutely fucking bullshit. And all it is lobbyists and corporations buying and selling Senate seats. That's what it is. And the only way we can make it fair to the people again is to stop that from happening. No more APAC, no more gas and oil industry giving unlimited money, no more Shell oil, none of that. They need to cut that off. And once they cut that off, people might actually get elected on their fucking merits instead of how much money they have.
Yeah, absolutely. There's one other thing they should bring back up, and that is the fairness doctrine,
Yes.
because we have a corrupt media system right now. Without the fairness doctrine, we've got Fox News and anybody else to say whatever they fucking want, claim to be news and not being news. If we had the fairness doctrine, we wouldn't have so many people divided in this country because we all get different stories. We wouldn't have so much adversity because people would at least get the facts. That was something that not Richard Nixon, Ronald Reagan got rid of. And the Citizens United and the fair Citizens United being enacted and the fairness doctrine being taken out has caused immense problems for this country, and we're now starting to realize the effects of those decisions.
Yeah, and it's astonishing that they even ruled that. Like when they ruled it, I was sick. And that's been a lot of years now, man. That's been, I don't know, 12 years at least, I think. And
Yeah,
it, it just it's if you think about like 2015 or 2012 to now, the political system has gotten disgusting. I mean,
yeah,
it really has. Like these people are just bought and paid for, and they're beholden to all these corporations, and they're not representing the people anymore. That was the
yeah.
wrong decision wholly, and they need to do something about it. And I hope with all my heart that if things, Donald Trump gets taken down, the Democrats take power again, and they hold that power and they hold it to 28 and get a president in there that has a fucking brain. Hopefully they'll go out and do something about it because it really needs dealt with. And I know that Democrats benefit from that too. But they need to get together and say, hey, we need to do the right fucking thing here. If you can't get elected on your fucking policies, you shouldn't be in Washington, D.C.
Absolutely. The money has to come out of politics. Spacer says we have the Interstate Popular Vote Compact, a couple more states, and we get way closer to getting rid of the Electoral College. That is something we should get rid of. The Electoral College had its place years and years and decades ago, but it's kind of antiquated. It's archaic now, and it's not necessary. The Republicans don't like it because they have fewer voters than Democrats, but that needs to go. The popular vote is fine, and we should be able to. I mean, that's the whole point of democracy. Majority rules, right? If that's the case, how does Donald Trump win an election in 2016 without getting the majority of the vote? That makes no sense. That
Right.
doesn't jive with democracy.
Well, why should someone in Fargo, North Dakota have 3 times the voting power that I have?
That's a good point. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Trevor says MTJ is getting threats against her life. Yep, she certainly is, and I don't want her injured, but she's standing up to it. It's more than a lot of these fucking Republicans will do. They're terrified that they're going to be threatened. And it just says who the Republicans are. Marjorie Taylor Greene, once their darling, speaks out against Donald Trump. And now that her own people are threatening to injure her or kill her or whatever. That's the kind of people we're dealing with. And that's why we have the problems we do now, because everybody's terrified of Donald Trump and what might happen to them if they piss him off.
And I'm a little surprised that dumb MAGA Barbie stood up to Donald Trump. You know, he they
Lauren
pulled
Boebert?
Yeah, they pulled her in. They pulled her in and Nancy Mason. They didn't change anything. So I think they told them fuck yourself. That I mean, they didn't remove their names. Not that I've heard of in the last couple days.
Yeah. Don't you find it interesting though that, when Donald Trump got elected, I thought that the Republicans would step away from him. They would abandon him.
Right.
Um, and it's just gone on way longer than I imagined it would. I thought he'd be done well before now, but I find it strange that all of the Republicans, uh, Lauren Boebert and MTG were the first ones to do it. The fuck is this?
Yeah,
We're living
it's
in a bizarro world.
that's what I've been saying for fucking weeks. Like when started coming out, I'm sorry, let me be clear. When Marjorie Taylor Greene started coming out with all this stuff, I'm like, what the fuck is going on? I'm like, I never in a million fucking years ever thought I would agree with anything that Marjorie Taylor Greene fucking said. And I'm agreeing with like everything she's fucking saying right now. It is bizarro world right now. It's like we're in the upside down, you know?
Well, and you can applaud for her doing the things she's doing, but don't get caught up and don't feel
Oh,
like she's our friend. She's definitely not our friend.
no.
She's still a Republican. She's still in Georgia. She's in a redneck district in Georgia. She's not our friend. But if she wants to pound on Donald Trump and take the heat for it, I'm all for standing back and let that happen.
Yeah, obviously she can't be trusted, you know? But it's just interesting that she's taking this stance. Um, and maybe it finally got to her, like the SNAP stuff that happened and the Medicaid stuff and the ACA, maybe her constituents, maybe she listened to him finally and said, "You know what? This is a bridge too far even for my MAGA fucking district," you know? Because
That could be.
I mean, let's face it, 80% of the people on SNAP are in districts that voted for Donald Trump.
Exactly.
So,
Exactly.
maybe she
Basic,
finally had a come to Jesus moment with her people and actually listen to him, which is far better than I can say about, lots of other Republicans. My fucking House representative hasn't come to a town hall meeting in fucking like 8 years. He won't come here because he knows he's gonna get roasted by everyone in the city.
Mike Johnson certainly isn't listening to the people in Louisiana because
No.
they get SNAP and ACA, and he doesn't seem to give a shit. We're going to wrap things up here in a minute, but Spacer says, do you think we should change the way amendments get passed? Maybe a system where Congress votes on a proposed amendment, then will then it will go nationwide election, much like state constitution propositions. I don't know if we can change how we do amendments with the Constitution the way it is. We then have to change something in the Constitution, and I don't see anybody
You you'd
going to
have to
that.
have a constitutional convention in order to change the Constitution to do that. So, no.
Hodiner says, "What are the chances Trump is cornered and he takes us to war with Venezuela? The country is twice as big as Texas." I don't know what he's going to do with Venezuela. Donald Trump is big on making threats and not having much substance. I don't think starting a war with Venezuela is going to save him from anything. It's not going to stop an election. It's not going to stop the investigations. It may just make things more heated for him. It may make it worse for him. I'm surprised if he was going to go into Venezuela, he probably would have done it by now, trying to distract from Epstein. At this point, what he's doing down there is tantamount to war crimes. And I don't think anybody in this country, whether they be Republican or Democrat, really have a stomach for what he's doing. It's not working positively for him, and it's not going to shut anything down. It's just not. Spacer says, go watch Hickey 17. It's basically Ru- Mark Buffalo Ruffalo, where he's Trump. He loses an election on Earth, and then he tries to set up a new nation on a new planet. Yeah, well, Mickey 17, not Hickey 17. Hickey 17's a different movie that you got to watch in a closet. by yourself with a gross of socks. Anyway, I'm 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 going to wrap things up for the Rational Boomer podcast. Um, TJ, thank you for joining me today. It was short notice, but it made it that
Uh-huh.
much more interesting to do this. Thank you for that.
Yeah,
Uh,
absolutely. Have a good night,
uh,
folks.
yeah, for those of you listening and participating, you are invaluable to doing what we're doing here. So keep it up. Thank you for taking the time to listen. I hope you have a great day, and we'll talk to you again tomorrow.